My microphone is still working. Is that right, Bo?
That's great. Looks
is
great.
It?
Yes, looks great. Sounds great.
Okay, because
you're
I've
all
got
bundled
to lean
up.
back. I can't. Sitting straight up is killing me right now.
You're all bundled up.
I'm this far back. Am I okay?
You're all bundled up in your Georgia jersey and beanie. Jeffro is back, folks. Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson in studio today. The guy who is only in front of the camera, Seth Chapman. Welcome in. Also via Zoom, we welcome in Caleb Hutchins, and we welcome back Jeff Hart.
What a setup we have today.
Wait, what's he doing on this show? I thought this was my thing.
Yeah, he's a guest.
Not dead yet,
he's a
Caleb.
guest now.
Almost, but not yet.
So, Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Give us your state of the health address.
State of the health address. Well, I'm alive. I'm walking. Pretty much can do most anything I want to do, but just trying to take it easy. Just walking a little bit every day. Doctor wants me to increase my steps, and that's pretty much been my focus. Just trying to get back to as close to 100% as I can get, which is probably going to take a few more months. But just glad to kind of be back in the fold. Been contributing behind the scenes a lot, and just glad to be here. That's all. Just lucky and glad to be here.
Well, the new co-host of the show, Caleb Hutchins, is with us today via Zoom as well as guys, week number 5. Now, Caleb, we are now officially halfway to the halfway point of the season.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a couple of weeks, and I kept telling you we're not halfway yet. Now we are halfway. This is the halfway point of the season. This is a great week, by the way, of high school football. Again, a lot of regions finally starting up this week, a lot of great games. I think we're going to learn a lot this week, and I think that we're going to know a lot more about the playoff picture after this week. And on top of all that, we're going to get some really good football games, too. So I'm really looking forward to Friday night.
So
I think Friday is going to be good. I think Caleb kind of touched on it. I had a story that I think we dropped on Wednesday afternoon, about how important is some of these, and normally how important is that first region game. But I think with just so much uncertainty going on out there right now, and, teams are depleted, some are having to cancel because of COVID and other things like that. Well, I tell you, getting that first region win is going to be huge for those teams last week, like Gainesville that started out, in Jackson County that started out and got region wins. I think that really is putting a lot more emphasis on region games. And this week it's going to be monstrous, particularly for a couple of regions.
Well, guys, we always talk about what games kind of surprised you last week. The Gainesville game was a wild finish. Seth, you were at the Gainesville game. You watched the wild finish of that Forsyth Central Gainesville game, the region opener, Region 6 7A opener. And what a game that was. Gainesville jumped out to a 28-14 lead, and then Central comes roaring back to tie the game, and then the hoopla at the end happened.
What a hoopla that was. That's the perfect word to describe what happened in that game. Hoopla. You have a block field goal. You have a block field goal that turns into a penalty that then turns into Gainesville winning the game on a field goal.
And turns in, Jeff, to Gainesville scoring 5 points within 10 seconds of the game.
And the safety, yes, and the safety.
What was interesting about that was that the Maxwell ratings actually had Gainesville as a 5-point favorite. And so they met the line on the Maxwell ratings via that safety as time expired in the game. So what are the odds of that happening? Crazy finish. Gainesville, though, really, I think, has to be feeling really good because it wasn't a fluke that they won that game at Forsyth Central. Yes, the ending was crazy, but they outplayed Forsyth Central, I thought, for basically 3.5 quarters. Forsyth Central put a rally on in the fourth quarter. Gainesville has to feel good, I think, that they went on the road to what was a 2-0 Forsyth Central team and outplayed them as much as they did, and then dodged the bullet when it looked like Forsyth Central was going to pull a miracle comeback at the end. I think Gainesville's got to be feeling pretty good because what they did was not sort of pull a win out of a loss, but it was protect a win from being stolen by a miracle comeback by the Bulldogs.
Well, guys, we can't forget Baxter Wright, the freshman, started at quarterback for injured Gianni Williams, and he did a very good job starting his first varsity game. I mean, just think about it. Any of us, not that we would be playing quarterback, although Jeff says he played quarterback back in the day, could do what he did, because of the nerves and everything. You're thrown in as a freshman, and you lead the team basically to a win. Of course, Naeem Cheeks with 179 yards rushing. So just very interesting and kind of cool how Gainesville came back to hold on to that game and win it.
Oh, I agree. I listened to the end of that game. I had listened to the East Hall East Jackson game and was impressed by what East Hall had done. I mean, granted, East Jackson may not be, they're still kind of building their program as well. But, that's the kind of game East Hall loses in the last couple of years. I thought they did an outstanding job. And, right now they look like a sleeper in 8-4A. And we're going to talk regions here. They got a really big game coming up on Friday with Cedar Shoals. Traditionally, a high-powered team, playoff potential team. And I tell you, if East Hall, talking about getting a good start out on a region, if they can win this game on Friday against Cedar Shoals, they could be a player in this thing. They have Jefferson next week, so it'll be really interesting.
To hop back to Gainesville Forsyth Central, just as a side note, I got really, really lost at that game trying to find my car at halftime. I remember just telling Bo that because I ran around for it had to be fit like nearly all of halftime just trying to find my car because I got turned around in there.
So that was what
makes you feel any better at the Battle of Oakwood a few weeks ago. I lost my truck keys at Johnson. So
hey, did you ever find those?
Also, I don't think your problem cost you a couple $100. Mine did. So hopefully that makes you feel a little better.
Did not find it.
I'm going to tell you, I was comfortable sitting on my couch at home listening to the game, and I lost nothing. Drank all the tea I wanted, and it was good. I had a great time.
All right, guys. So let's give some props to Lakeview. 2 in a row, beating a much improved Towns County team 31-12 on Friday. Does Lakeview have it going on right now?
Yeah, I really think they do. I think they have found a little bit of their offensive identity. They still have some mistakes to clean up. I think they committed a few too many turnovers and mental mistakes for Lee Shaw's liking against Towns County. Otherwise, that game could have been over much quickly. But I do like the way Lakeview's defense is playing right now. They're not the biggest defense you're going to see. They are a relatively small school, but they fly to the ball really well. I love the way they play. And as I said, I think they have an offensive identity, which is they're going to attack you with that read option attack on offense, and then they're going to throw off a play action on that. And I think that's got something for them. I really think Lakeview Academy, I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're going to make their first ever state playoff appearance this year. When you look at that region, you might only need 1 or 2 wins. I absolutely think they can get that, and I like the way they're playing right now.
Well, let me ask you about that in that game because, Towns County was a team that was really, jumped out of the gates really strong. They've got the Class A Public's leading rusher still in Kyle Oakes. Was that game, I know they had several turnovers. Was it more of Towns shooting themselves in the foot and getting behind the 8 ball early, or was it more of Lakeview's defense kind of dictating some of the action?
I think it was a little of both. I think that Lakeview's defense, I think even if Towns County doesn't make the number of mistakes they do, I still think offensively, I still think they probably lose that game. They were able to put a couple of good drives together, but for the most part, Lakeview's defense just was not giving them a lot of room. They had very good closing speed when Towns County tried to run option stuff, and there just wasn't a lot of stuff there. Towns County made mistakes too. Both teams had a number of drop snaps and things like that, but I think that all came out in the wash. I think overall, Lakeview outplayed Towns County, and to be honest, they looked like the better team Friday night.
Are those two coaches, Lee Shaw at Lakeview and Jason Rockmore, right now? I mean, if we did a Coach of the Year candidate, I would say both of those guys have to be. You got to look at kind of what they're doing. Michael Perry at East Hall, 3 wins already. I think that there's a lot going on with some of the schools that haven't been there the last few years. Lee Shaw getting 2 wins in his first year at Lakeview. It's just remarkable.
Lee Shaw and Michael Perry would be my 2 leaders in the clubhouse if we were to have that conversation right now. I think both of those teams are going to make the playoffs. That's just what I think is going to happen. But let's see how this plays out. East Hall, as you mentioned, has got a big game this Friday night. So I want to see how these games go. But right now, Michael Perry and Lee Shaw would be my leaders in the clubhouse for that.
All right, guys. So speaking of big region games this week, we've got several of those on the docket. If you look at probably the largest game of the area, it's Flowery Branch hosting Jefferson, a top 10 matchup in Class 4A. And this matchup is, to me, probably going to be one of the best matchups we've watched all season.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, this is when we talked about when we saw the schedule probably like in March or April or whenever. I mean, we saw that and we were like, okay, that's going to be a great ball game when you look at, all of it. But what was lost back then, we had no idea that David Bernard was going to be lead the state in passing. Right now, that is like a great contrast in styles. When you look at that, you're going to have, a great Jefferson defense against a great Flowery Branch offense that likes to throw the ball, which we didn't think that was really going to be the case this year. And you got a young but improving Flowery Branch defense. It's going to have to figure out how to stop that triple option attack, which is, it's averaging 400 yards a game. This has the makings of an instant classic.
That's the matchup I want to see, is that Jefferson offense against that Flowery Branch defense. Because of what you just said at the end there, Jeff, Flowery Branch's defense has been improving. When you watch the St. Pius game that they opened with that was on GPB, Flowery Branch's defense looked really rough. I mean, they were missing a lot of tackles. St. Pius's triple option offense, which is what they're going to see this week with Jefferson, was giving them all sorts of problems. However, if you watch the way Flowery Branch's defense has played the last couple of games against Gainesville and Hiram, I like what I'm starting to see out of them right now. I mean, really, they're starting to play physical. They're starting to clean up some of those tackling problems that they had in the first couple of weeks. And if they can continue to do that, if they can continue to improve, that's going to be a very interesting matchup, because I tell you what, some of those missed tackles that Flowery Branch had against St. Pius that were costing them 20-yard runs, those will cost you 80-yard touchdowns against Malachi Starks. So you got to have that cleaned up for sure.
Look, that's true. So I throw this challenge out there. Have they improved enough that they can now stop that offense a lot more effectively? Or is that type of offense kind of going to be the Achilles heel for how Flowery Branch is playing defense this year?
I don't think we'll know the answer to that specific question until Friday night, but I don't think you're going to stop Jefferson's offense. I don't think anybody in 4A is going to stop Jefferson's offense. The question is, can Flowery Branch slow them down enough? If Flowery Branch's defense can do what Rabun County's defense did, hold them to 21, 28 points, I think Flowery Branch has a real shot Friday night. If Jefferson is scoring 35 or 40 points or plus, then I think the Falcons are in deep trouble. But if Flowery Branch's defense can do what Ravens did, then I like their chances.
Well, you go back to that Rabun game, though. Look what Jefferson's defense did against the number one quarterback prospect in the state, basically. And I'm nothing against David Renard, but is David Renard as good as Gunnar Stockton? I don't think so, necessarily. So that's what I'm saying. I think there are so many storylines in this game. I think it has a chance to be an instant classic.
Well,
I don't think that David Renard individually is as good as Gunnar Stockton, but I think on the whole, the Flowery Branch offense might be a little bit of a more well-rounded, better unit than the Rabun County offense is right now. They're so versatile. With what they do with their tight ends, Baxley O'Brien, Sal Sinks, and the fact that they now have two viable running backs with Jason Ellingham, who we knew was good, and now Miles Ivey, who's had to come in relief and has provided back-to-back 130-plus yard games. We now know back-to-back 100-yard games, I think. We now know that Flowery Branch has depth at running back, plus what they have at receiver, and we know they've got a good offensive line as well. They might be the best overall offensive unit outside of maybe Jefferson. These might be the two best offenses in Northeast Georgia right now.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same, well, not exact same thing you were going to say about Flowery Branch's offense, but it is more balanced this season as it was last season. Talked to Coach Ben Hall earlier this week, and we talked about the balance of his offense and exactly what David Bernard's doing in his run game, and how they have continually improved. One of the things he did say that he was really happy to see is the improvement of the defense from game one till now, but he does completely understand Malachi Starks, and I think he called him the best athlete in the state, what Malachi Starks brings to the table, because Malachi can take over the game if the defense is way over pursuing him. So, I mean, he is going to get his yards. It's just what can Flowery Branch's defense do otherwise to keep, other people from scoring?
He's going to get his yards. The question becomes, do you allow him to get the 65-yard touchdown that breaks your back in the third quarter? That's the question. You're not going to stop Malachi Starks, I don't think. The question is, can you keep him from just absolutely roasting you for those long touchdowns that can be the difference in a tight ball game?
I know Coach Hall, he kind of compared him to Mecole Hardman. So, that's a very good comparison.
I don't think it's totally unfair as far as sheer athleticism. Malachi Starks is special. I mean, we all know that, but he is a game breaker.
Well, this one's going to be a good one. You can hear it live on AM 550 WDUN. Brian Stewart, Gene Anderson, Horace G on the call of that game. All right,
and we talked to a lot of them for our Game of the Week feature.
Listening to that game on Friday.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm going to be at the game, so you can listen to it all you want.
You're going to have to listen to another game, Jeff, because we got Nate covering that game. So you're going to have to listen to another game. Or you can listen to two games.
I got a cane. I may just show up.
Please don't.
If you got a cane, please show up to the game. Yeah, please show up to the game. I want to see that.
All right, so we mentioned the East Hall Cedar Shoals game, a big game in Region 8-4A. But let's shift to Region 7-3A with another monster opener on tap with White County traveling to Dawson County. Now, this game, you look at both of these teams, White County's 4-0, Dawson County's 0. They were 0-3, worst start in the Sid Maxwell era, but they picked up a win against Northview a couple weeks ago. They're 1-3 now, so you might lean toward White County in this game, but they've both had off weeks heading in. What say you, fellas?
Well, what is interesting is you look at this is similar. We talked about the Flowery Branch improving defense. How much has the Dawson County defense improved? I mean, they were getting lit up early, just getting lit up early. Rebounded with a really solid game against Northview, only gave up 20 points, and they got the Class 3A, passing leader in Zach Holtzclaw. So I think the key really is going to be, I think the key unit is the Dawson County defense. If they play more like they did against Northview and they've worked out some of the bugs, then I think they have a chance to keep them in the game and give Zach Holtzclaw and that high-powered offense a chance to put some points on the board. But if J. Ben Haynes and that group at White County, which is, they're putting up big numbers, 4-0 for the first time since 1975, but they're kind of able, and they got a lot of balance. If they're able to kind of do what they want to do on offense, I think it's going to be difficult for Dawson County to win that game if the White County offense is able to do what they've been doing. So I think the key unit in this game is the Dawson County defense.
I would agree with that. I do think that this has shootout potential written all over it because of what Zach Holtzclaw is doing offensively and what we know White County's done, averaging 41 points a game. I mean, they put up 50 points in Hartwell a few weeks ago. That's hard to do. We already know what that White County offense can do. Dawson County's offense can do it too. The problem is, as you mentioned, Jeff, their defense wasn't giving them a lot of opportunities in the early part of the season to win some of those shootout ball games. So I would agree with Jeff's assessment. Does Dawson County defense get maybe a couple of turnovers, maybe that one key stop in the fourth quarter that allows them to swing the ball game around? This is a very big game because we've all talked about White County, Cherokee Bluff being the top dogs heading into region play. If Dawson County could knock off White County early, that would be a huge upheaval in Region 7-3A in the hierarchy because all of a sudden you have to start throwing Dawson County into the mix when you're talking about the region title. It also means that Cherokee Bluff maybe might have a little bit of an easier track if Dawson County maybe doesn't have the kind of season they want to have the rest of the slate. It could have it could open things up for North Hall or West Hall potentially. It would have all sorts of implications if Dawson County would win the game. If White County wins and Cherokee Bluff beats Gilmer, it kind of looks like we're headed on that track towards maybe a White County Cherokee Bluff region title game. But this is an early chance for somebody to kind of throw a monkey wrench into things.
Well, perhaps we don't count out North Hall or West Hall at this moment. Those two play each other this week as well.
I was going to bring that up.
And we saw what
West
North
Hall, how much of a player are they in this?
Yeah, how much will they be a player in this? They're on a 2-game win streak. They've kind of righted the ship somewhat, but they still made a ton of mistakes against Chestatee 2 weeks ago. And that's one of the things Crofton, said earlier this week. We've got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot. And that's exactly what they've done, but somehow they end up at 2-2 right now. North Hall, on the other hand, wow, what a game against Chestatee. 500-plus yards of offense. Kevin Rochester and Clark Howell going off with the yardage in that game. So Caleb and I talked on the podcast on Monday, the fact that you can't count out Coach Bishop and the North Hall Trojans. And do we count out West Hall and Crofton Montgomery right now?
No, but I think that this game between North Hall and West Hall, it might be sort of a play-in game to see who gets to play the wild card role in this region. I think whoever wins the North Hall-West Hall game will sort of be the X factor team in the region race. You could maybe throw Gilmer into that mix as well. And I don't think whoever loses this game is necessarily out of the playoffs by any stretch. It's just a region opener, obviously. But from a momentum standpoint and everything, if North Hall were to go out and beat what I think is a much improved West Hall team, you would have to say they are riding a lot of momentum because they head up to White County next week. So, I think that North Hall-West Hall game up at the Brickyard this week is a very important one to keep your eye on, especially if somebody wins big. If either of those teams blows the other out, I think you got to raise your eyebrows and say, we got to watch out for this team.
Right. Well, I agree with that totally. We talked about, how big are region games, and in particular the first one. This is one of those that I kind of see. It's a huge game for both teams.
It's a tone setter.
Bo, me and you were talking about this off the air either yesterday or this morning that, North Hall scored 48 against Chestatee and West Hall was only able to put up 14. They did make a lot of mistakes or shot themselves in the foot. But on the flip side, they only gave up 8 to Chestatee and North Hall gave up 28 to Chestatee. So, I mean, I think right now West Hall might be a little more balanced team and a little better equipped to move forward in the region. But again, I totally agree. It looks like North Hall has got, they finally got the pieces for that wing T, which when it's rolling, I don't care who they're playing, it's hard to stop. And so I think, I mentioned the Dawson County defense. I think the West Hall defense, I think that's the unit. If they can stop North Hall, I think West Hall wins that game. Fashion, I don't know. But if North Hall is able to run the ball and have their way with that West Hall defense, I think it's going to be going to put a lot of pressure on that West Hall offense, which has shown it will make mistakes.
Well, I do believe the West Hall defense has the upper hand in this game just simply because they've been playing better defensively than North Hall so far this year. All right, guys, it's time to get to the point in the show where Seth gets a chance to show us all his wonderful highlights.
Oh, but I can't see him, though.
You will, though. Lame. You'll have to watch the show to see him.
Exactly.
So do we wait to comment till after the show?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're great. Okay. Seth, great highlights.
I don't know.
Thanks, Caleb.
You do such a good job.
Thanks. I mean, they are already out for viewing.
The third one
I'm just taking my favorites.
I thought you could have done a little bit better, personally.
Yeah. A little more slow-mo stuff. Maybe
more slow-mo
when the ball's in the air, it's on fire, Like maybe you should doctor those highlights up a little bit.
This is what I have to deal with, folks.
Give us some of those slow-mo moves.
If the rest of the guys are done, here's my picks.
Great highlights, Seth.
Thanks, Bo.
They're awesome.
Awesome.
Love them.
Great stuff.
Great stuff as always. All right, so let's
hold my criticism till next week.
Yeah. Wait till you watch the show. Okay, so now it's time for us to name
WilHart Team of the Week. Wait, I'm on camera.
I heard that all the way over.
Secret's out.
Wow.
All right, guys. Who's your vote?
Supernatural.
Who's your vote this week for the
WilHart Team of the Week? Why'd you make me do it again?
What are our choices?
You
What are our
just jumped in.
choices?
Everybody. I mean, choose whoever you want. This is America.
Yeah, it's America.
Georgia.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, high school. It has to be high school. I'm sorry. Wow.
Do we need the Jeopardy music?
To tell you the truth, I'm going to go with somebody we talked about at the beginning of the show, which was Lakeview. 2 straight wins. I thought beating Towns County was a big win for them, kind of moving that program a little forward. I'm going to go with Lakeview.
I'm going just across town. I'm going with Gainesville. I agree Lakeview's win was impressive, but for Gainesville, this was their first season as a member of the state's highest classification. It's their first year in 7A, first region game as a member of 7A, and to go on the road to, by the way, what was a good and still is a good Forsyth Central team, and to get the win, especially surviving that wild finish at the end. Biggest win of the Heath Webb era so far in Gainesville, and I think they got to be team of the week for that.
Seth, what say you?
I say Gainesville as well.
I knew you were going with that.
I say Gainesville as well.
It looks like I could pick and make it a tie, but then we have no tiebreaker other than paper, rock, scissors. I said that on purpose.
I know you did.
You hate it when I say paper, rock,
You
scissors.
say it in the wrong order.
Yes, I do, on purpose. But I will say
Please light
this.
Bo up in the comment section. Please
I-
just light him up in the comment section.
I was
Or me.
going with Gainesville on this one just for the simple fact of the way they persevered through what they went through in that game
Agreed.
and won it on a field goal that could have gone for days.
Hats off to
Martinez.
Giovanni Martinez, by the
Yes,
way.
hats off to him for stepping up. And if you want to really go see that leaping call, because I know a lot of people, they were really unhappy about that on the other side. Seth has the leaping. You can see it in the video. The kid looked like Superman.
Oh, yeah.
So great athleticism from the kid that blocked the first kick, but he did legally do it. So congratulations, Gainesville. You are this week's
WilHart Team of the Week.
And folks, that means the show is now over. Jeff, it's good to have you back on the show.
Well, Caleb's ready to get out of here.
Caleb's out. Big welcome back to Jeff. Good to have you back this week.
Always good to be back. Thanks for including me.
Little golf clap for you. Good job. Good job. Even though you're bundled up like it's 32 degrees outside. Caleb Hutchins, my new co-host of the show. Thanks for being on Zoom. And Seth this week who is actually in front of the camera the whole time this week.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling.
Yeah, and he'll put all the little things on the bottom of the screen, that socials and everything. So check us out. Go like, go subscribe, and go read. As, again, everything.
And go Braves.
Yeah, and go Braves. It's, they play tomorrow, too, or today, too. All right. For everyone here, I'm Bo Wilson. Happy week number 6, everyone.